Hi, this is Angela Cox, and we're here. I'm here at Southern Middle School, and I am going to show you how to do the next step of your sewing project, your dinosaur. Right? I've cut out my dinosaur. I have two little dinos, and my next step is I need to sew on the eyes. Right? So I've chosen my little eyes here. Right? I've chosen my buttons, and I'm looking, and I don't think those buttons match. So I should have two buttons that match. So you'll look through your, those buttons match. This one looks a little different color. Alright, so when I put the buttons on the dinosaur, it's really important that I make sure that I'm sewing it on the right side, right? So when I have my dinosaur, right, there's this fuzzy side, and I want to make sure that I have one eye on one dinosaur and one eye on the other one. And that when I put these together, they're on opposite sides. Like I don't want to sew it on this side on one. So I'm going to find that fuzzy side of the fabric, and I'm going to hold them up, and I'm going to make sure that it's on the right side. When you put your eye on your dino, you don't want to put it too close to the edge, or else it will be in the seam. So I'm going to put my eye right here, right in the middle, right? Now, another thing that I want to make sure of is I want to make sure that whenever I put my eyes on, that I don't choose an eye that's too big, because I have to flip my dinosaur inside out through this neck. So I want to make sure that I have a relatively small eye. I'm not going to pick a great big button that's as big as his head, because when I need to flip it inside out, I'm not going to be able to do it, right? So I'm going to start on this side, and then whenever you sew on a button, remember you always come up from the back, right? So I'm going to come up from the back right here, where I want my eye, and then pull it tight. Remember, it should be like a magic carpet. Then I'm going to put my button through, and make sure that you have the button on the right side up. Like this is the part that goes on the bottom. The little ridge should be facing up. And then I'm going to sew my eye on here. Now I can do this eye however I want, right? I think I'm going to make mine into two like parallel lines. So I think I'm going to make mine this way. So I'm going to go in this hole, and then down this hole, right, like that. And I'm going to come up from the back of the fabric right here, and remember, it's like a dolphin hopping out of the water. I'm going to go right back here. A lot of times people want to go around here, and then you'll have a weird thread there. So you come up, out one hole, and in the other, right? And then you always want to put it in there 3 times. So 3 times through that hole. 1, 2, 3. Right? So I got that side on. Now I need the other side. So I'm going to come up through this hole right here. Let's see if I can zoom in at all. Oh yeah, that's better. Maybe if I turn this light down. No, there. Alright. So I'm going to come up through this hole and hop down the other one, just like that. Right? Like a dolphin hopping out of the water. 1, 2, and then 3. Right here. Here we are. Now that I have my little dolphin, I have this part sewed on, I need to give it a thread shank. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to poke my needle from the back side. I'm going to poke the needle up, so this needle is coming out behind the button. Right? See my little needle right here coming up behind the button? There we go. So it's going to come up behind the button, and then I just have to wrap this thread around to make sure those threads are really strong and protected. 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Then I'm going to go back to the flip side on this side. I'm just going to poke it down through there. So now I'm on the back side of the fabric. And what I want to do next is I'm going to tie this off. Right? You can see my button. I have my threads here. Right? No one can see those because they're on the back side. So I'm just going to hold my button. I can kind of hold it through the fabric. And somewhere behind this button, I need to make a little stitch. In and out. Right? In and out. And then I'm going to get this little loop, and I'm going to go through this loop to tie it down there. 1, and remember, always do it 3 times, because nothing is more annoying than sewing on your button, and then you don't tie it off, and then the button falls off, and you have to do it all over again. It's super annoying, right? And then one more time, in and out, make sure you're behind that button. There we go. And then through the loop, 3, right? And then I'm just going to cut this off. Snip. Right? So this button is all sewed on. Now, I need to sew it on the other side, on my other one. So I'm going to position it here, and then make sure that when you put your little dinos together, you have an eye on one side and an eye on the other. Be careful not to accidentally sew it on this side, right? Because if it's on this side, when you go to put them together, one eye will be on the inside and one eye will be on the outside, right? So I have my needle here, and I know where I want my eye, but this isn't going to be enough thread. I'm going to need more, right? So I'm just going to rethread my needle. Remember, you want to take your double thread about to your elbow, because if you take it much longer than that, then it's going to start to tangle as you sew. But if you make it shorter than that, then you're not going to have enough thread to sew on your button, and that's super annoying because then you have to start all over again. So I got my thread here. I'm just rethreading my needle, and then I'm going to sew on the other button, right? So I'm going to pop, remember, I want it on the fuzzy side. So if this is on the fuzzy side, I want it on the right side. So I'm going to put it right here. And it doesn't have to be a perfect match to the other one, but it's best to make it match as well as you can. So I have my top of my button, my ridge is facing this way, right? And then I'm going to start on the back. Make sure you pull it tight, right? And then I'm going to go, I did 2 vertical lines on one, so I'm going to do 2 vertical lines on the other. Right? 1, and then remember, how many times do we do this? We do this 3 times on each side. The rule of 3. Third time's a charm, right? Because we do not want this button to come off. That is very annoying. And once our sewing project is done, if the button comes off, it's really, really hard to sew it back on. Right? And then I'm going to come up from the other side, come underneath, right, and do it again. 1, 2, and then 3, right? Oops, wrong one. 1 again. There we go. And now, once again, I need my thread shank, right? So I'm going to take my little dino, I'm going to push up the needle so that this needle is coming out right behind the button, like that. And then I'm going to wrap it around 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to go back to this flip side, back to the wrong side of the fabric, pull it through, and then, again, make sure I have it on this side. I want to make sure I know where my button is, so when I tie it off, I do it behind the button, because you'll be able to see this on the front side of the fabric, and it'll look like a little stitch. You'll be like, what's that? So again, one little stitch, and then go through the loop 3 times, just like that. And once I have that, I can tie it off, and here I go. Now I've sewn my eyes on my dinosaur.